Life doesn't pay you just for effort. It pays you for discipline, for philosophy, for strategy. You don't need a miracle, just a better set of money rules. Because the rules you follow are the results you get. Most people are trapped, not by their income, but by their habits. Not by the economy, but by their thinking. And the truth is, you can't out-earn a poor mindset. You can win the lottery and lose it all. Or you can learn the right rules and win quietly, slowly, and permanently. Today, I want to give you 7 money rules that don't just sound good in a book, but work in real life. These are the rules that helped me go from broke at 25 to financially independent. And if you adopt them, truly adopt them, not as tips, but as principles, they can do the same for you. Because here's what I know. Money doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are. So, let's get your foundation right. Let's get your mindset sharp. Let's shift from spending like the many to growing like the few. Let's begin. Let me tell you, wealth doesn't start with the size of your paycheck. It starts with how you treat that paycheck. It's not about how much comes in, but how much stays. You see, most people fall into the trap of chasing image. They buy things they can't afford to impress people they barely know, all while strangling their financial future. That's not the way to build wealth. That's the way to dig a hole. The real breakthrough comes when you decide to live on less than you earn and make the difference work for you. When I started turning my life around, the first habit I formed wasn't earning more, was spending less. I lived by the 70-30th rule. 70% for living, 10% for saving, 10% for investing, and 10% for giving. That's the beginning of stewardship. And I'll tell you, giving that 10%, that's where the heart is tested. If you can give when you don't have much, you're ready to receive more. Giving disciplines the ego. It reminds you that wealth is not just about accumulation, it's about circulation. The river that gives stays fresh. The pond that hoards gets stagnant. Now the saving, that's your cushion. That's what keeps you from going under when life throws a curveball. The car breaks down, the roof leaks, the job lets you go. Without savings, every setback becomes a crisis. But when you've built that cushion, you move through life with a different kind of confidence. You're not afraid. You're prepared. That's powerful. And the investment, that's where you turn discipline into multiplication. You don't build wealth with saving alone. You build wealth by planting your money like a seed. You invest it into something that grows stocks, real estate, a small business, even your own skill development. You see, every dollar you invest wisely becomes a little employee. And the wealthy? They're not working for money all their lives. Their money's working for them. Most people never get to experience this because they don't have the margin. They've inflated their lifestyle to match or worse, exceed their income. A raise becomes a new car. A bonus becomes a vacation. But the wealthy, they don't think that way. They keep their lifestyle steady and let their wealth build beneath the surface, quietly, patiently, consistently. Let me tell you, simplicity is the foundation of fortune. Complexity leads to chaos. And impulse, that's the destroyer of destinies. Every time you say no to an unnecessary purchase, you're saying yes to your future. Every time you invest instead of indulge, you plant a seed for the harvest that's coming. Discipline is remembering what you want most over what you want now. So if you can live beneath your means, save consistently, invest wisely, and give generously, you won't just build a bank account, you'll build a life of strength, freedom, and significance. That's how wealth begins, not with a windfall, but with wisdom. One of the most important lessons I ever learned on the road to wealth is this: never rely on one stream of income. If there's one river flowing into your house and it dries up, you're in trouble. But if you've got 5 or 6 rivers coming in, you can sleep a little better at night. You see, financial independence doesn't come from a paycheck. It comes from having options. And options are created when you build multiple streams that feed your wealth. When I started out, all I had was one job. I was grateful for it, but it didn't take me long to realize that if I ever lost that job, my entire lifestyle would vanish with it. That's when I started thinking differently. What else could I do in the evenings? What skill could I turn into value? What could I build once and get paid for again and again? The first step is to start with what you already have, your primary income. Your job is the seed capital. It feeds your bills, yes, but it also funds your future. While others were spending every extra dime they earned, I was putting mine to work. I invested in books, courses, tools, anything that could sharpen me and open up new doors. Don't just work for the paycheck. Let the paycheck fund your growth. Then I added a second stream. For me, it was speaking and teaching. Maybe for you, it's freelance work, consulting, selling digital products, or affiliate marketing. I've seen people turn baking into businesses, writing into royalties, and hobbies into high-ticket coaching. The key isn't to copy someone else, it's to identify the value you can offer and multiply it. And then I began investing. Real estate, mutual funds, eventually equity in businesses. That's when I started seeing a powerful shift money working while I slept. That's a different kind of wealth. When you go from earning money with your hands to earning money with your mind, you've crossed a line most never do. It's not about quitting your job, it's about outgrowing your need for it. You see, the goal is not to work forever. It's to build something that does the work for you. That could be a book, a business, a rental property, a dividend stock. Something that doesn't need you to punch a clock but keeps producing. Most people are stuck on the hamster wheel, running fast and going nowhere because they never stop long enough to build a system that runs without them. Let me tell you, the wealthy don't have more time, they use time differently. They trade today's effort for tomorrow's return. They plant seeds in many places and water them consistently. Some streams will dry up, some will overflow, but the one who has many will always have something flowing. So if you're serious about building wealth, start where you are and build outward. Don't rush. Just be intentional. One by one, create streams that free you from dependence. That's the true mark of financial wisdom, not just earning money, but multiplying it through creativity, consistency, and courage. When I first heard the idea that you must work harder on yourself than you do on your job, it hit me like a lightning bolt. Up to that point, I'd been like most people, putting in the hours, showing up for the paycheck, thinking that hard work alone would eventually lead me to wealth. But here's the truth. Working hard on your job will make you a living, and that's fine. But working hard on yourself now, that will make you a fortune. And a fortune is built on who you become, not just what you do. You see, your income is tied directly to the value you bring to the marketplace. The more valuable you are, the more the market is willing to pay. That's not emotional, that's economic. If you're being paid $50,000 a year, that's the market's honest appraisal of what you currently bring to the table. But here's the beautiful part. You can change that number by changing you. And that's where personal growth becomes the engine of wealth. The first book I ever read that changed my thinking, I didn't even want to read it. I was told I should. I thought, books? That's for smart people, for people who went to college. But when I opened that first book, it was like a window opened in my mind. I began to see that I didn't need to wait for opportunity to knock. I could become the kind of person opportunity knocks for. I didn't need to wish for better circumstances. I needed to get better thinking, better habits, better character. So I got serious. I started reading a little everyday books on finances, on communication, on leadership. I listened to people who had done what I wanted to do. I started to observe successful people with a new set of eyes, not just what they had, but how they thought. And I found something remarkable. Success leaves clues, and it's often hidden in the disciplines most people ignore. I learned to ask better questions. I learned to speak with more confidence. I learned how to lead a team, how to manage my time, how to control my emotions. And slowly the world started rewarding me differently. More opportunities came, better people showed up, income increased, and none of that came from changing my job, it came from changing me. Too often we ask for a raise without raising our value. We want more without becoming more. But the law of the harvest still applies. You don't reap what you want, you reap what you sow. And when you start sowing personal growth, the results compound over time, in ways you never imagined. You might not see it right away, but keep going. A book today, a class next week, a mindset upgrade each morning, it adds up. Eventually, you'll outgrow the problems that once stopped you. You'll attract opportunities you used to chase. And people will ask, what changed? And the answer will be simple. You did. Because once you become the kind of person who can earn more, lead more, and handle more, life doesn't resist, it responds. So never forget this simple truth. The greatest investment you'll ever make is the one you make in yourself. That's where wealth begins, and that's where it will keep growing. When people tell me they want to be wealthy, I often ask, what's your plan? And you know what I usually get? A blank stare. Some say, well, I hope to make more money. Others say, if I get a raise, if I win the lottery, if the business takes off. But let me tell you something important. Hope is not a financial strategy. A wish without a plan is just a daydream. And daydreams are cheap. But discipline, that's expensive. That's what builds wealth. You can't leave your financial future to chance and expect abundance to knock at your door. You've got to take the blueprint of your goals and turn them into action. See, it's not enough to say, I want to be rich. The real question is, what am I doing today, this week, this month, this year to get there? Wealth responds to clarity, not confusion. It responds to plans, not panic. When I began my journey, I had no plan. I was broke working hard, but with nothing to show for it. I made money, spent it just as fast, and somehow convinced myself I was just waiting for a breakthrough. But the breakthrough only came when I sat down with a pen, a pad, and a little humility. I listed my expenses. I looked at what was coming in and what was going out. I saw the leaks in the ship, and I started patching theme and decision at a time. The first rule I made for myself was this: track every dollar. If you don't know where your money's going, how can you expect to control it? And then I asked myself, what do I want this money to do for me? Pay off debt? Fund investments? Buy freedom from stress? When you give your money a job, it goes to work for you. Otherwise, it slips through your fingers like water. I started setting monthly targets show much I'd save, how much I'd invest, how much I'd give. I made wealth a game of strategy, not chance. And slowly, the numbers started to move. But more than the numbers, I changed. I stopped being reactive and started being intentional. I learned to say not because I couldn't afford something, but because it wasn't aligned with the plan. That's power. You see, without a plan, even a high income can disappear. I've seen it over and over. Athletes, entertainers, business owners, they earn millions but have no plan. And a few years later, they're right back where they started. On the flip side, I've watched people with modest incomes build fortunes. Why? Because they had a blueprint, they had a plan. They treated every dollar like a seed, planted it wisely, and gave it time to grow. The marketplace doesn't reward your wishes, it rewards your wisdom. And wisdom says, put it on paper, review it monthly, adjust it quarterly, live by it daily, because the future will arrive whether you're ready or not. The question is, will it be by design or by default? So if you really want to build wealth, don't just dream about it, plan it, commit to it, and execute it like your future depends on it, because it does. Let me tell you one of the greatest secrets of the wealthy. It's not just that they earn more, it's that they remove themselves from the temptation to do less with what they earn. See, one of the biggest enemies of wealth isn't the government, the economy, or even the cost of living. It's emotion. It's that little voice that says, skip the savings this month. You've worked hard. You deserve to splurge. And while there's nothing wrong with enjoying life, the problem is when pleasure comes before purpose, when indulgence takes priority over investment. That's why I believe one of the smartest decisions you can make on your journey to wealth is this: automate your habits before emotion can interrupt them. Because if your future is at the mercy of your moods, your wealth will forever be unstable. But if your future is protected by structure, your wealth begins to take on a life of its own. Now, I didn't always live this way. When I first got started, I was like most folks. I paid my bills, spent a little, saved what was left. But the truth is, there was rarely anything left. I told myself I'd do better next month, and then life would come knocking. A car repair, a birthday, a sale I couldn't resist. And so, the plan got delayed again. But one day, someone much wiser than me said, "Why don't you reverse it? Pay your future first." That phrase lit a fire in me. From that moment on, I decided that my retirement fund, my savings, and my investments would get paid before I touched a dollar. Not after the rent, not after the groceries, not after the weekend. Before. And how did I make sure I stuck to it? Automation. I set up auto transfers the moment money hit my account. A portion went straight to savings, another to my investment portfolio, and another to my retirement fund. I didn't have to think about it. And that was the genius of it. No more battles between logic and emotion. No more should I or shouldn't I. The decision was already made. And once the money was gone, I simply adjusted my lifestyle to what remained. And you know what? I didn't miss what I didn't see. That's the beauty of this approach. When you automate your wealth-building habits, you're not just saving money, you're saving your discipline. You're protecting your future from your present. You're building systems that operate even when you're tired, distracted, or emotionally spent. And let's be honest, we're all human. We all have weak moments. But automation is a tool that lets your strong moments design a future your weak moments can't destroy. So if you're serious about building wealth, don't rely on motivation. Rely on systems. Set them up once and let them do the heavy lifting. Wealth isn't built on random acts, it's built on consistent, disciplined ones. And when you automate discipline, wealth becomes a natural result. You know, I've always believed there's a law that governs money as surely as the law of gravity governs the earth. It's the law of sowing and reaping. It's ancient, it's timeless, and it's inescapable. And one of the greatest ways to align yourself with that law is through giving. Not just giving because you have excess, but giving because you believe in abundance. Giving because you believe that the seed you plant today has the power to multiply tomorrow. Now, let me be clear. Giving is not about throwing money into the wind. It's not about guilt, nor is it about obligation. Giving is a discipline that trains your mind to reject scarcity and embrace wealth. And I don't just mean monetary wealth. I'm talking about the wealth of character, of mindset, of spirit. When you give from a place of purpose, you teach your subconscious that there's more where that came from. And let me tell you, that one belief that there's always more is what separates the truly wealthy from those who never escape the cycle of lack. In the early days, when I didn't have much, I still made it a point to give. Not because I was trying to look generous. No, I did it because I needed to fight the fear that said, you don't have enough. And that voice is sneaky. It'll try to convince you to hold on to every dollar. It'll whisper, what if there's a crisis? What if the money runs out? But I knew if I gave in to that fear, it would become my master. So I decided to prove to myself that I wasn't broke even when I barely had $10 to my name by giving one of them away. That dollar wasn't just a donation, it was a declaration. It was me telling the world, and more importantly, myself, that I believed in the principle of return, that giving is not subtraction. Giving is multiplication. Just like the farmer doesn't cry over the seed he plants, you don't mourn the money you give when you understand that it's planted, not lost. But let me emphasize something important: give wisely. I'm not saying to throw your money at every hand that asks for it. I'm saying to give with strategy and intention. Support what you believe in. Invest in people, in causes, in ideas that reflect your values and vision. Give to those who are building, not just begging. That's how you create a cycle of abundance that returns not just financially, but in fulfillment, in peace, and in growth. I found that every time I gave with the right heart and the right intention, it unlocked something in me. I became more creative, more alert to opportunities, more grateful for what I had. And somehow, the doors I thought were closed started opening. I believe that giving done right clears out the spiritual clutter that often blocks the flow of wealth. Because here's the truth: wealth flows where it's trusted. And when you give, you demonstrate that you can handle the responsibility of more. You prove to yourself that money is your servant, not your master. That you're not driven by fear, but by purpose. So don't wait until you have enough to give. Start small, but start now. Because the habit of giving doesn't begin when you're rich, it makes you rich. You know, one of the greatest lessons I learned on my journey to financial freedom was this simple truth. You can't manage what you don't measure. It's like trying to navigate a ship without knowing your coordinates. If you don't know exactly where your money is going, it's almost impossible to build wealth or even hold on to what you have. The wealthy understand this principle deeply. They know where every dollar sleeps at night. Early on, I thought that making money was enough. I believed that if the income was coming in, everything else would fall into place. But that's not how wealth works. Wealth doesn't come from earning alone. It comes from managing and directing your money with intention. If you ignore the flow of your money, it flows away quietly, unnoticed, like water slipping through your fingers. That's why tracking every dollar is critical. This means more than just glancing at your bank statement once a month or guessing your expenses. It means keeping a close eye on your income, your expenses, your debts, and your investments. When you commit to tracking your finances precisely and purposefully, you become the captain of your ship. You know where you are, and more importantly, where you are going. I remember a time when I started writing down every cent I earned and spent. At first it felt tedious and unnecessary, but then I noticed patterns, little leaks I hadn't seen before. Subscriptions I forgot about, impulse purchases that added up, fees that drained my accounts. These small leaks might seem insignificant alone, but together they can drown your wealth-building efforts. The practice of tracking money creates discipline. It teaches your mind to be deliberate with spending and investing. It turns vague intentions into clear action. Because when you watch your money closely, you start making smarter decisions. You pause before spending. You ask yourself, does this expense bring me closer to my financial goals, or is it just a distraction? And it's not just about cutting costs. Tracking your debts helps you create a focused payoff plan. Tracking investments shows you how your money is growing, what's working, and what needs adjusting. Monthly financial reviews become your roadmap for steady progress. There's a psychological power in this too. Money flows where attention goes. When you give your money the attention it deserves, you build respect for it, and it grows in response. You create a feedback loop of awareness and action that fuels wealth over time. I encourage you to start today. Find a method that works for you: a notebook, a spreadsheet, or a financial app. Make it a habit to review your numbers monthly and be honest with yourself. This is the foundation for everything else. Without it, your wealth will remain at the mercy of chance. Remember, the difference between a wealthy person and someone struggling financially isn't just income, it's the discipline of tracking every dollar with precision and purpose. Take control of your money by knowing exactly where it is and where it needs to go. That's how fortunes are made and kept. Time is the one resource that every person has in equal measure, yet it is also the most misunderstood when it comes to building wealth. People often think wealth is a game of speed. How fast can I get rich? But the truth is, wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. It's not about rushing to the finish line. It's about showing up consistently, day after day, and turning your time into an asset rather than a liability. Let me tell you, every day you wait to start is a day lost forever. Those days are not just moments that slip by, they are compound interest you will never recover. I remember when I first grasped the power of time in wealth building, it changed everything for me. I realized that starting small and starting early, no matter how insignificant it seemed, was better than waiting for the perfect moment or the right opportunity. Because wealth isn't built by grand gestures alone. It's built by small, consistent actions that add up over time. Take reading, for example. Committing to read a single chapter each day may feel like a tiny task, but over a year, That's hundreds of pages filled with new ideas, new strategies, and new opportunities. That knowledge compounds, just like money. It grows, it multiplies, and it turns your thinking into a powerful tool for financial freedom. Or consider saving just $5 a day. It sounds so small, yet it's the discipline behind the habit that matters most. Those $5 might seem like nothing, but over time, with the power of interest, it transforms into a significant nest egg. The habit itself teaches you control, patience, and the understanding that wealth is built on choices repeated consistently. Even creating something a product, a side hustle, an investment plan bit by bit each day builds momentum. I remember when I was working to build my first business. It wasn't a giant leap every day, but consistent, focused effort that moved me forward. One phone call, one letter, one presentation at a time. That kind of consistency turns time from a thief into an ally. The wealthy think differently about time. They see it as their most valuable asset because they know how to use it wisely. They don't wait for time to work against them. They work with time to multiply their efforts. This mindset shift from seeing time as a limited resource to seeing it as a compounding asset is what separates the wealthy from the rest. Don't be fooled into thinking you need a lot of time or a huge head start to begin your journey to wealth. It's not about having the perfect conditions. It's about taking consistent action now, no matter where you start. The sooner you start, the more time you give your habits, your savings, and your efforts to grow. Remember, time rewards the disciplined, the consistent, and the patient. It punishes the procrastinator, the doubter, and the dreamer who never acts. Turn your daily moments into building blocks for your financial freedom. Start small, start today, and watch how the power of consistency and compound interest can turn your life around. Wealth is not built by speed, but by steady, persistent effort over time. Make time your most powerful asset, not your biggest liability. Setting a clear, focused goal is the spark that ignites your journey to financial success. Without a target, your efforts scatter like leaves in the wind. That's why setting a 90-day money goal is one of the most powerful tools you can use to transform your financial life. It gives you direction, urgency, and a way to measure your progress in real time. When I first began building my own financial foundation, I learned the importance of clarity. Vague hopes don't create wealth. But a specific goal, say, saving $1,000, paying off a credit card, or earning an extra $3,000, focuses your mind and your energy. It's like setting your sights on a distant mountain peak. Suddenly, every step you take is purposeful, moving you closer to that summit. Breaking that 90-day goal into smaller chunks is where the real power lies. By dividing your goal into monthly targets and weekly actions, you turn a potentially overwhelming ambition into manageable pieces. For example, saving $1,000 in 90 days might mean setting aside roughly $333 each month, which then breaks down to about $83 a week. When you see those smaller numbers, they no longer feel intimidating, they feel achievable. To keep that momentum alive, you need a way to track your progress visually. Whether it's a whiteboard on your wall, a journal, or a digital habit tracker, making your progress visible keeps your commitment top of mind. Every time you mark off a completed task or a dollar saved, you get a small victory, a psychological boost that fuels your discipline and motivation. This isn't just about numbers. It's about rewiring your mindset to celebrate progress, not just perfection. I remember a time when I committed to a 90-day financial goal that seemed out of reach. But by breaking it down into daily habits, making one extra sales call a day, cutting unnecessary expenses, and setting aside a fixed amount, I steadily gained momentum. The small wins built on each other, and before I knew it, I'd reached my goal ahead of schedule. That feeling of accomplishment wasn't just about the money. It was about proving to myself what consistent, focused effort could achieve. Weekly reviews are equally crucial. Life happens, obstacles appear, and sometimes you'll fall behind. But a weekly review gives you a chance to course correct, renew your commitment, and adjust your actions. It's like checking your map on a hike. You make sure you're still on the path and avoid getting lost. Remember, wealth is not about giant, unpredictable leaps. It's about steady, consistent steps taken with intention. A 90-day money goal focuses your effort and brings urgency without overwhelming you. It's a discipline that trains your mind to think in terms of progress and momentum. If you want to build real wealth, start by setting a clear, measurable goal. Break it down, track it visually, review it weekly, and celebrate every small win. These habits transform your thinking from wishful dreaming to purposeful doing. Success follows those who prepare, measure, and persevere. In the end, your financial future belongs to those who act with clarity and consistency, one small victory at a time. As we come to the close of this conversation, remember this: wealth isn't a sudden stroke of luck or a secret hidden in complex formulas. It is the sum of small, deliberate actions taken consistently over time. It begins with clear thinking, focused goals, and the discipline to follow through day after day. When you set a 90-day money goal, you're not just chasing a number, you're building a habit, a mindset, and a new way of seeing your financial future. So I challenge you today. Decide what your 90-day goal will be. Write it down, break it into actionable steps, and track your progress visibly. Make this commitment not just to your bank account, but to your personal growth. Review your efforts each week, adjust as needed, and celebrate every small win. Remember, the path to wealth isn't always easy, but it is always simple. Take control of your financial story by thinking clearly, working consistently, and acting boldly. The future you want is waiting for you, but it won't arrive without your effort. Start today, because the only way to build lasting wealth is to begin and keep going. Your success depends on the actions you take now. Make them count.